Hello. Yeah, I know. It's been a while. Well, maybe not for you, but for me, it was a much longer break than I wanted, or planned. If you are interested in the roller coaster that was my
My
past
turn
month,
already?
then stay tuned. In the background here, we
Hello.
have some footage of my control deception deck doing its absolute best to annoy a control nature player. Okay. The story begins shortly after the Create a Card contest. Luckily, I was able to fully finish and send out all the prizes before anything went awry. Basically, my desktop just shut off and would not turn back on. How and why my computer stopped working is honestly still a mystery because in the process of fixing what I thought were the issues, I proceeded to screw everything else up so badly that the original issue was actually fixed at some point, but nobody really knows when. The computer itself was not the only interesting thing to happen, but we'll get into all that as it comes up. Alright, the rundown on everything, as I remember it, goes as such. One night, at roughly 1:30 in the morning, I'm watching some YouTube videos, getting ready for bed, when suddenly my computer screens both power down, instantly going blank. Usually, when my computer breaks, there's some sort of buildup, a pop, or power flickering, or just some sort of telltale sign that something's about to occur. This time, no warning or any indication that something was amiss. When I inspect the area, I realize the entire desktop has no power. When I press the on-off button, nothing happens at all. Being late, I simply decide to head to bed as I was already procrastinating that anyway. In the morning, I disconnect everything to clean the inside of the desktop. Cleaning is no joking
If
matter. I have no
math
clue
would
how,
be
but
too
my room
easy.
gathers so much dust, it is unreal. So to clean it, I take the tower itself outside while wearing a dust mask and hit it with a leaf blower for a solid 5 to 10 minutes. Then I go over as much as I can with a cloth or a brush, if I have one. Then I grab the leaf blower again and blast the desktop one more time for a few moments. Mind you, this is all outside in the Texas heat. So I bring it back in and then I rest in the AC for about an hour. Partially because I lost half my weight in sweat, but mostly due to the fact that I was afraid the
A
situation would
wolf in
require
sheep's
more than a
clothing.
cleaning to fix it. After spending some time with the family, I return to my room and plug everything back in, ever hopeful that the universe isn't actually plotting my downfall. Looks up and shakes my fist methodically. Huh? Oh, wait, I wasn't supposed to read that part. Anyway, as you can guess by now, when I tried to start it up, nothing happened. I fiddled with some cords, tried different outlets, I even got a completely different power cable. By this time, I kind of already settled on the idea that the issue was the power supply. So with my mind set on that solution, I took to Amazon and same day delivered a new 1000 watt power supply. I decided to upgrade from my 600 watt while I was at it. Okay, while we wait for that to arrive, I want to take this time to mention some other life events that also went on in the past month, with some obscurity included, of course. For about 2 years now, someone has been allowed to live on our property. A slightly older lady with whom I do not get along with at all. Anyway, I could go on and on about what a nightmare she is to have around, but I digress. She is often giving us a date she plans on moving out, but when the time comes, something changes, a problem occurs, or they sold it out from under her, etc., etc. For a few months now, she has had a new boyfriend living here, and we don't mind him at all. He is a hard worker and
Hide and
typically
seek
very
is for
polite and quiet.
pups.
Together, they supposedly bought property in another state, but they need to do work on the land before it's livable for them and their animals. The lady has a ton of dogs, all boxers, but she also has two horses as well. So the property needs enclosures and fences and corrals and whatnot. So for the first week of my computer being dead, they went up there and I at least had some peace and quiet. At this current time in the story, my family believes they plan on moving things up there in the next 2 weeks, but I will return to their part of the story when we
Every
get there.
victory
For
has its
now, back to me
price.
attempting to fix my computer. My new power supply arrives and I look it over. I was surprised to see that all the cables detach from the PSU completely. Everyone I've ever seen before, the cables were connected fully. Yes, this is a hint as to what one of my next issues were. But I was not smart enough to realize it until after I spent more money to fix something else. I go as far as to take pictures of my desktop and all the previous PSU connections so that I have a reference for the new one. And honestly, I do think the pictures helped a lot. After I get everything disconnected and reconnected with the new power supply, I press the power button and nothing happened. Frustration roared in me. I spent 2 more days attempting to fix whatever I had screwed up, but yeah. After which time I do find something peculiar. A single connection seems to be the issue. The JPWR2 connection. If I have it connected and press the power button, nothing happens. But if I disconnect that one cord and hit the power button, the lights turn on and the fans spin for roughly 1 second. I find this extremely odd, but I am no expert, so in my mind, I had already swapped out the PSU, and so there's no chance it is the problem. It has to be the actual motherboard. I decided not to upgrade this time and just order the exact one again so that I don't risk getting one that's not compatible with all my current parts. There was no overnight option for this part, and it takes 4 to 5 days to get to me. This is a good time to mention the sponsor of today's video. It's my frustration. Honestly, if it only took a week or two in order to get things back on track, then yeah. Oh yeah, I almost forgot the best part. About 2 weeks before everything happened, a company reached out to me to see if I wanted to create a few videos for them. They are a new upcoming NFT card game. I told them after the Create a Card contest I was holding that I would spend some time to learn their game before I gave them an answer. I have played one game and was a bit lost, but that is neither here nor there. So the entire time my computer is busted, I am chatting with a representative of theirs, and he is legit trying to help, but he is not a techie. Not that I can say I am much of one myself, but yeah. The game seems fun, and there are some extremely progressive rules. It's a little interesting. I'll have to learn more to get to it. Anyway, again, I digress. Hopefully I will have a video with much more details in the future, once I learn the game enough to make one. By this time a week has passed, and the crazy lady and her boyfriend return. Not alone, though. They brought one of his daughters with them. She is now staying here as well. Not in our house, though. I forgot to mention that they stay in a camper on the side of our property. But the girl's dad works all day, and the lady is gone a lot, supposedly working odd jobs as well. Anyway, it was just a surprise to have a new person here. I was unaware that they were coming, but apparently my dad knew, so yeah. Also, it casually came up in conversation that instead of 2 weeks, it would be another 2 months before they move out, just due to money issues. The next few days are interesting and hectic. The new kid is very social and odd in an interesting way, and the other kid we care for is keeping her distance from the new one for now. We all kind of watch a lot of Netflix and Disney Plus and have general conversations. Just so you know, our house has AC, and the camper that they live in did not at this time, so we don't mind the kids staying in our house during the hot days. So, back to the computer. After a few days, my motherboard gets here, and I get to work dismantling everything just to hook it all back up. The PSU cables give me some issues, but I don't believe I messed anything up at this time. And then I realize I need some thermal paste for the CPU now. I know I ordered some less than a year ago and set out to find it. I scour my room, but come up empty-handed. After about 30 minutes of searching, I give in and order another tube on Amazon again. This is another 2-day wait. I'm pretty sure I simply spent this time watching TV in the living room and talking with everyone. Oh, and cooking for everyone. I did a lot of cooking. Okay, those 2 days actually turned into 3 because of a delay in the shipment, but yeah. I get the paste and slap it on, metaphorically of course. And with high hopes, I press the power button and nothing. Same exact issue. Now I am befuddled and fairly certain I personally messed something up along the lines. I spend the next day messing around with the cables in hopes that it was a simple fix, but yeah, no good results. At this point, I give up and call my friend who works on computers in his spare time. I feel bad a bit because it seems like I only reach out to him when I have computer problems, but honestly, I'm just really shut in and barely reach out to anyone ever. Everyone I really was attached to before I got sick slowly stopped reaching out to me, and the few friends I have left are also either shut in a bit or usually busy with families and lives. But anyway, I message him and he tells me to send it over. So I have my dad take the tower to him on his way into town, and within 30 minutes he tells me I have an incorrect cable connected from the PSU to the J Power 2 spot. If you remember, this was the peculiar plug that when disconnected would let the computer get a little bit of power for a second. So I get my dad to bring it back since he was already in town anyway, and I rummage through the disconnected cables that came with the power supply, and I find the correct cable. They are both 8-pin plug-ins, and other than the letters printed on each one, they look exactly the same to me. But I swapped them out, and when I press the power button, this time the desktop and screens light up. I literally do a happy dance and watch the desktop boot up for the first time in 2 weeks or so. But then the infamous blue screen of death shows up. Oy vey. The error code is page fault in non-paged area. After a few resets and minor changes I attempt, it is clear the error code is not going away. I spend a good bit of time Googling and YouTubing what this error means, and I get very mixed results. I also messaged my friend about it, and his reply was something along the lines of I might have to fully reinstall Windows. Other things I found show I needed to reset my computer completely, losing all my data, but I wasn't going to try that first. At this time, I begin to actually panic. I get increasingly frustrated. Honestly, if I hadn't found out about bioflavonoids about a year ago, I would most likely have had a few panic attacks with the anxiety I used to have. I kid you not, these things work wonders. After about a month of taking one pill a day, my anxiety is pretty much gone. Though I'm still inside my own head about leaving the house, I believe I need an outside influence to give me the push needed for that venture. Anyway, feel free to ask me anything about bioflavonoids in the comments, or anything else you might be curious about that comes out of this video. I don't know. But yeah, I highly recommend looking into bioflavonoids for anything anxiety or depression related. They also help with tinnitus. Anyway, back on track. Most of the solutions I find across Google and YouTube are not extremely helpful. A good portion of them tell me I need to update my drivers, but if the computer doesn't load to a point that I can access the drivers, then this does me no good. Other options were to do a system restore. I tried that and it was no help. So now I feared I lost all my data on the hard drive and was still stuck with this damn error page. I spend a solid 3 days trying to fix this before I call a computer repair shop. Some elderly man answers and immediately tells me it sounds like one of my RAM sticks are corrupted, or something like that. And to test my computer with only one stick in, and to change it out to see if which one, if any, were bad. He was a chatty man, and we talked about various things for over an hour. He is retiring in October, and has been working on computer parts for nearly 35 years or so. I wish him the best of luck. However, the advice he gave me did absolutely nothing to fix the problem. And now my brain realizes the fatal flaw in all my work. I have been the only person to actually disconnect and reconnect any part of this computer. I also realized that at this point in time, the original problem was fixed. Of course, I would like to say this is the moment where I get someone else to look at my handiwork, but alas, I choose to do something else. If the PSU was new, and the motherboard was new, then that only leaves a possible issue with the CPU. Fixing that will surely fix the problems, since everything else is new. I asked my friend for a recommendation on a good CPU, and he gives me one. He suggests a 9700 for Intel, and without hesitation, I purchase a refurbished one. It gets here in 2 days, and I take the cooler off and clean the old CPU and take it out, and then I scream internally. My friend was getting over an illness. I do not blame him for his mistake. My motherboard cannot take a 9700. The best my setup can fit was the same one I already had, a 4790. So I opted to return the 9700 and buy another refurbished 4790. This one takes 4 full days to arrive, and I have just enough thermal paste to install it. My days in between these shipments were becoming stale as the kids that I were entertaining had started school up. But just to liven things up, the universe throws a toothache my way. It was a Wednesday that my entire upper left side of my jaw started hurting. A dull ache that got worse when any liquid touched it. I bitched and moaned about it, but ended up calling a dentist. They forced me to call my insurance to see what coverage I have. The answer was none for dental. Well, outside of emergency surgery, that is, but yeah. Anyway, I talked to the dentist again, and to have them look at the tooth and do nothing else, I would have to pay out of pocket. The rough price was going to be $50, which at this point in time I could afford, but would be cutting it close after all the computer parts I just bought. Also note, as of writing this script, I still have not gotten the refund for the 9700 CPU. I hope that gets processed really soon. I scheduled the appointment for the following Friday, and I spend the rest of my Wednesday trying to avoid causing my face pain. I believe some pain meds help me sleep, and I wake up the next day with virtually no pain in my mouth at all. I was surprised, but when I took a drink, the liquid still caused a flare in pain. The next day I wake up, and even less pain than before. Even the liquid doesn't hurt nearly as bad, but I decide to keep the dentist appointment anyway. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. I sell trading cards on eBay, and for over a year I've had some sitting as a buy it now. Randomly, the Wednesday my tooth started to hurt, one of the cards sold for about $117. So, back to my suffering. We get to the dentist, and I have to fill out or sign about 20 pages for them. After that, we discuss payments, and one of the receptionists realized I might qualify for a discount. And that meant I have to pay nothing for today's visit. That was a bit of relief, but honestly, the cost was not where I would have liked the good news. Because after they take the x-rays and sit me down, I hear the dentist behind me bring up a root canal. And it was this moment that my anxiety revved its engines. It had been so long since I felt that feeling, but it was undeniably anxiety. The bioflavonoids have kept it at bay for pretty much a year. But hearing that was what I was afraid of. Then the dentist looked in my mouth and said, "Well, that's odd," and went back to look at the x-rays. She brought the assistant over to look at my mouth and pointed out that on the surface, my teeth look great. Absolutely no sign of a cavity. But the x-rays can see deeper than the surface. So at this point, my anxiety and expectations are on a full roller coaster. In the end, they send me home with the idea that someone will call me to set up a root canal. Also note, while writing this script, I still have not gotten the call. I have also done some research, and turns out the toothpaste I was using was fluoride free, and fluoride is the actual cavity fighting chemical. So I bought some new toothpaste and have brushed my teeth more in the past few weeks than I care to admit. In fact, I'm going to stretch my legs and take a break from typing and go brush my teeth right now. Ah, that's better. I also fed the cats and watered the little lemon tree outside that's not doing so well. We are in the middle of a drought after all. Yes, it's currently 2:25 a.m. I don't care, why should you? Man, this script is taking longer to write than I am used to. I hope I can fit it all into this video before the game ends. Sadistic from editing here, and that answers that question. That's okay, there's about 2 more minutes left of the story, so I will use some footage that I recorded a while back that I never got to show. It uses my favorite card, Ghostly Chariot, and I actually get 6 chariots on the board. So, enjoy. Okay, back on topic. Where was I? Dennis, card sold. Ah yes, the new CPU finally arrives, and as you can guess, it has absolutely no effect on the problem that is page fault in non-paged area. I message my friend again, and he gives me some rundowns on things to do in the BIOS settings. Nothing helps still. Then finally, my brother decides to look at it. For a quick note, things don't usually end well when my brother tries to help. His favorite saying is, "Destruction always works." Yeah. Anyway, so after 5 minutes on my computer, he successfully changed the problem. Now, instead of booting up and going to a blue screen of death, it immediately went to a black screen with a list of odd errors. Oh, also, the first thing he did when sitting down at my desk was drop a D20 and said roll for initiative. It came up as an 18 and he was proud of himself. The outcome was in a twisted way hilarious. But all of my mental was strained when dealing with this computer for weeks now. Just to be clear, my life during this time was actually quite pleasant outside of the desktop and tooth issues. I had spent a good bit of time outside, some time bonding with people, and even exercising. It was a nice time, but damn it, I missed my computer. So after a few hours of working to undo what my brother did, I had finally broke down. My friend was fully over his illness by now and ready to take another look at everything for me. I told him the absolute first thing I wanted him to do was dismantle everything and put it right back together, because I was certain I screwed something up with reconnecting everything the multiple times I had to. He was talking like he was going to force a full reboot and I shouldn't lose anything, but he couldn't make that a promise. Anyway, he got the computer, and in less than an hour, he messaged me saying he needed my password to log into Windows. He was already further along than I had gotten in 3 weeks. Later that day, I got it back and hooked everything up, and it ran great. I did have to reinstall a few programs, and for some odd reason, Chrome and a few other things just wouldn't start. But after some tinkering, I got those to work. It was odd, but yeah. Anyway, I'm sure you're tired of hearing me talk by now. It has been about 2 weeks since my computer has been working fine, and I am proud to say I'm keeping up with my life off of here somewhat. Have a good night, and enjoy!